The story begins in a dark and mysterious place, with various sealing talismans floating everywhere. Slowly, someone approaches this sinister place, while the yellow papers continue to fall slowly. Standing before a huge green portal, a group of adventurers discusses whether they should wait longer or enter immediately. Then their leader, a gentleman with a white beard, says that an hour has passed and that no one else will come, so they can leave. With his golden object that looks like a key, the old man prepares to activate the passage to the dungeon. At that moment, the portal opens completely, and the group runs in excitedly, shouting that they are going to become very rich. The group leader reflects that he spent all his savings on this key, and that he cannot afford any kind of loss. However, as soon as he enters, his expression changes to one of pure terror upon seeing what lies on the other side. The man finds himself alone in a dark corridor and wonders where all his companions have gone. Suddenly, a young man appears and greets him, relieved to finally find someone he knows inside. The man then asks where the others are, and the boy replies that they probably got separated. The young man suggests they explore the area together, but a creature with tentacles is already watching them from the shadows. As the old man cautiously walks through the dungeon, a terrifying roar echoes off the stone walls. From the darkness emerges a gigantic monster with enormous teeth and bright red eyes. The purple creature stares at the adventurer and says that his food has arrived, leaving the poor man completely terrified. Desperate, the man falls backward, screaming for help as the monster lunges to devour him. But at that moment he looks up and realizes that something is falling at high speed towards the creature. Suddenly, a girl with a sword appears out of nowhere and delivers a devastating blow to the monster's shoulder. With the force of the impact, a part of the creature's body is torn off and falls to the ground. The purple part of the monster lies there on the ground with a surprised expression before disappearing. The girl then lands gracefully, and the group leader thanks her for saving his life. The protagonist emerges from atop the creature's body and says there's no need to thank him. He speaks disdainfully, saying it was just a low-level monster, so it was easy to defeat. To reward him, the master offers a Class C dagger as a trophy for his help. However, the young man refuses the offer and says that the item belongs to him, since he was the one who found it. The group leader insists that despite being a Class C weapon, it is a very valuable weapon. He explains that among equipment of the same level, weapons are the most expensive and rare. At that moment, the rest of the group of adventurers appears and asks who the two strangers are. One of them points at the protagonist and demands that he pay for using the key to enter the tower. With a sarcastic smile, the protagonist says that they should be lucky he got in, or they would all be dead. With an expression of pure rage, one of the adventurers prepares to attack the protagonist. He calls the boy shameless and asks who he thinks he is to speak to them like that. Seeing the commotion, the group leader runs over and shouts for them to stop fighting immediately. One of his companions then questions him, confused, asking if he knows that guy. The man shouts that they know nothing, and that the boy saved him from a powerful monster and gave him a Class C item. One of the adventurers doubts the story and questions how a simple Class C weapon could be so special. But suddenly a horde of green monsters appears in the hallway, leaving everyone desperate and screaming for help. The entire group panics and starts running while the leader yells for everyone to run as fast as possible. The green creatures advance with malicious grins and makeshift weapons ready to massacre everyone. Unlike the others, the protagonist simply spits on the ground with a bored expression on his face. Then he calmly faces the monsters and calls them a bunch of idlers with nothing better to do. The young man then summons several golden paper dolls that begin to float. With a confident smile, he bites his own finger to use his blood and activate his technique. A drop of water hits one of the paper dolls, causing a red eye to magically appear on it. And so the puppets transform into an army of armed skeletons that advances to fight the monsters. The leader of the monsters gives the order for his minions to advance and wipe out the skeleton army. Then a white light blinds the monsters. Then a huge explosion occurs, decimating the horde of creatures. The leader of the adventurers protects himself with his arm. Once the dust settles, he is completely shocked by the outcome of the battle. The protagonist stands calmly while the monsters' cores float around him. The group of adventurers is astonished by so much power, and one of them notices the cores floating in the air. The young man then says that he will only take the cores, and that they can share the equipment. With a simple gesture, he uses his energy to collect all the cores. The energy of the monsters condenses in his hand, forming a small, bright pink crystal. Then he turns to his partner and asks her to come closer and open her mouth. The girl obeys and eats the crystal, leaving the other adventurers shocked. One of the men explains that she is a corpse demon, a type that emerges when a human awakens. The group leader reflects on how the protagonist is creating such a high-quality demon. Now he understands why the young man only wanted the cores. It was all to feed his partner. Suddenly, a strong tremor shakes the dungeon. They wonder if it's another monster, but the leader reassures them, saying it must be the tower's seal breaking. Then the protagonist explains that the previous fight awakened the dungeon boss, and that they need to defeat him. With that, all the adventurers bow down and beg the young man to save them from a terrible fate. The young man then tells his companion that they are going to take a look at what is happening further ahead. In a dark room, several mummies are trapped in webs. Then the leader of the place, a powerful female creature, appears and asks who dared to wake her from her sleep. She transforms into a spider monster to attack the protagonist. The creature then unleashes a powerful blast of green energy, but the young man is not fazed and prepares a counterattack. He throws a small paper doll that flies at high speed to intercept the monster's attack. The doll envelopes the creature in an intense golden light, completely trapping it in its power. With a shout, the protagonist activates his technique and commands the paper seal to break. A burst of golden light occurs at the location, disintegrating the creature's power with immense force. After the attack, the monster is defeated, and its body is enveloped by a purifying blue energy. The protagonist and his partner watches the defeated creature's purple energy slowly dissipates into the air. Seeing that it was all over, the adventurers celebrated with relief, saying that the seal on the tower had been broken. However, one of them notices that the tower is not disappearing, and a strange aura still lingers in the air. The young man then reappears and explains that the reason the tower didn't disappear is because he warned them not to go in. He approaches a wall and places his hand on the dark stone bricks to show something. With a smile, the boy reveals that there is actually another hidden tower inside that dungeon. Then, he pushes the wall forcefully to break the illusion and reveal the secret passage. An explosion of energy occurs and the wall shatters. The adventurers are shocked, and one of them asks who the hell he is to know about a tower inside another tower. Then the protagonist turns around and reveals that he was responsible for unleashing all the monsters in the world. The surrounding scenery shatters like glass, and he confirms that he has transformed the world into what it is today. He warns them not to follow him if they are afraid of dying. The adventurers discuss and decide that it is safer to follow the boy than to stay behind and die. The leader thinks that with such a strong guy around, the chances of getting rare items are 10 times greater. Filled with greed and courage, they all shout excitedly and run to follow the protagonist. The adventurers begin to descend into a dark abyss, and one of them complains that he is afraid of heights. Meanwhile, the protagonist and his partner calmly observe the scene, and he seems quite bored by their slowness. He then lights a cigarette and reflects on how people die for money and birds for food. The young man thinks that humans are difficult to persuade, and even after so many years, they still seem the same. He remembers that 20 years ago, countless demonic towers appeared out of nowhere in the human world. Ever since those towers appeared, the world has been destined to plunge into complete and endless chaos. And so one of these towers appeared in a remote and forgotten village where no one knew of its existence. Someone then approaches and finds 2 children hiding near a sign warning not to enter. A bully asks the protagonist if he dares to touch the tower since he boasts so much about his lineage. The boy protects his friend while the bullies say that if he touches the tower, they won't bother her anymore. With a determined look, the young man thinks that he cannot let the bullies belittle them and that he will reach the tower. He then ignores the warnings and walks towards the tower while the other boys laugh at his courage. The protagonist reaches out and touches the red structure of the tower, which reacts with a beam of light. He looks up in shock to see that the tower door has opened by itself right in front of him. From inside the tower, a monstrous creature with a terrifying grin and a giant eye emerges. We see a red energy exploding and releasing countless tormented souls in a whirlwind of pure chaos. At this moment, the protagonist seems paralyzed as a torrent of terrifying faces enters his body. With that, people start running in desperation, screaming that the seal has been broken and the monsters have escaped. Amid the confusion, a woman refuses to run away because she wants to go in the direction our hero is heading. But a man stops her, telling her to leave because the boy is already grown and can take care of himself. Suddenly, a giant multi-eyed monster appears and stares at the humans as if they were its next meal. The creature then advances towards them. So we return to the protagonist on alert, who thinks that if they didn't heed his warning, now they'll have to pray for themselves. Then his group enters a strange and spacious place, where everything seems to be made of broken mirrors. The serious young man warns against being optimistic, because in this world, the greater the reward, the greater the risk. He then says that a fog is rising, and that everyone should stay together, because he is not responsible for any deaths. As they walk through the mirrored area, one of the adventurers complains, saying that he can't go on any longer. Soon after, a man from the group sits down, exhausted, saying that he didn't see any monsters and needs to rest a bit. Another team member approaches a teammate and desperately asks for some water. Seeing all this, a hand is raised. Suddenly, one of the men shouts that his friend Kiet has disappeared right in front of him and nobody saw anything. With that, the old man of the group tries to calm things down, telling them not to panic because it must be an illusion. But when he turns around, he realizes his companions are paralyzed and wonders what the hell is going on. Then the protagonist appears angry for not having noticed the enemy's presence sooner. The scene widens, showing the group scattered, and voices with laughter echo through the mysterious mirror-filled location. Our hero then looks into one of the mirrors and says that human eyes are different because they have found his hiding place. At that moment, a beautiful woman with bluish skin appears, questioning whether they were lucky or unlucky to have found her. The young man confronts her directly and asks what she did with the rest of the people who were with them. The creature smiles maliciously and reveals that it devoured them because their expression of fear satisfied it. The white, bearded gentleman is completely shocked and panicked when he realizes that everyone else has died. The villain then uses an artifact called the yin-yang mirror and fires a beam of energy at a giant crystal. Inside the crystal, one of the men finds a girl with blue hair and recognizes her as his long-lost daughter. The young woman cries black tears and asks if her father no longer remembers her and what happened in the past. The old man also cries and apologizes, saying that he was wrong and that at the time he had no other choice. Meanwhile, the protagonist sees in the mirrors the reflection of the woman who was looking for him at the beginning of all the confusion. The woman calls him over, saying she has made a delicious meal and asks if he would like to join them for a meal. The protagonist is shocked to see his mother, and she apologizes for not being able to protect him sooner. At that moment, the villainess approaches him and whispers that she has finally found him, and now they will be together forever. But the sweet illusion fades, and the people he loves are transformed into terrifying creatures. The old man is also trapped in a vision and begs forgiveness from his daughter, who now has tentacles coming out of her body. Meanwhile, the other companion screams in terror upon seeing a rat with wings on his shoulder and panics. Our hero then puts his hand to his head, feeling the weight of the mental attack as spirits surround him. The enemy explains that obsession is the source of evil and that she uses bodies to free and nourish herself. With a purple mark on his face, the boy recovers from his trance and warns with a determined look that she will not escape. He then questions what she will do against her ghostly partner, who advances with a powerful blue energy. The bluish woman is completely surprised and frightened when she recognizes the creature as a corpse demon. The young hero's companion unleashes her full power in a devastating attack of lightning and spiritual energy. The protagonist smiles and says that this tactic works well against her because the demon has no self-awareness. Then he challenges the villainess to show him all her other tricks. Trapped in a fragment of mirror, the enemy praises him but reminds him that he is in her tower and cannot escape. The creature laughs, saying it's useless, because they will be trapped forever and will serve as food for it. With a cold look, the protagonist is questioned by the villain about what he saw in the mirrors that haunted him. She continues the provocation by asking if he saw his friends dying, or if he imagines what it would be like to kill them. Then the young man lights a cigarette and says that he wanted to be fair, but the enemy can't keep her mouth shut. With a furious look, he declares that since she likes mirrors so much, he's going to break them all. The bluish woman laughs and challenges him to summon his creature to try and destroy all the mirrors in the place. Our boy replies that he's going to smash everything and prepares an attack. He focuses his energy in his hand and invokes a powerful technique called Deep Flying Fire Dragon. With that, a gigantic wave of blue and white energy explodes from him like a furious and overwhelming dragon. The attack expands with incredible force and begins to destroy all the mirrors in its path. At this point, the protagonist orders his partner Yuan to use a ghost transformation talisman. The ghost girl then flies ahead. Trapped in one of the shards of mirror, the villainess screams angrily and wonders what he is trying to do. The hero angrily declares that he will finish her off while his partner unleashes a powerful purple attack. The blow lands squarely, and a massive explosion of purple and white energy consumes everything around it. After the dust settles, the protagonist's partner appears, holding the villainess while our boy comments that there's no point in her running, because there's no way to escape. The young man smiles and says he spent an expensive talisman to get her out of there and hopes she drops good items. The bluish woman admits that she underestimated him because he used the heat of the thunder to melt her crystals. But she recovers and warns that she already said they are inside her tower and cannot win. Then she lunges at him, saying that with his strength, he should become her pet. Suddenly the scene changes and the villain finds herself in a strange, red place, wondering what it is. At that moment she stares at a giant eye with a strange symbol in the pupil and seems to recognize the danger. A new female figure with red hair appears with a seductive smile and greets him in a sinister way. The demon in red is gigantic and says that perhaps the treasure she is searching for is in that place. Without wasting any time, the villain launches a swift attack, but the creature in red stops the attack and says that an attack of that level doesn't hurt it. She then traps her with a tentacle and comments that her scent is delicious, while the other begs for her life. The demon's shadow takes on a terrifying form and begins to devour the bluish woman mercilessly. With a satisfied smile, she licks her lips and comments that the meal was truly delicious. Then she turns to the protagonist, who is standing observing everything, and asks what he is. The demon questions how he dares to eat in her territory, and how he managed to leave her tower. Then the creature greets to Triad and formally introduces itself as Hack-Ho, the Black Flower. Hack-Ho says that his luck is not good, and that he only has 3 more days to live, leaving the boy shocked. The young man looks at the bizarre structure above and questions what it means by only 3 days. He sarcastically challenges her, asking if she's the reason he can't level up. The villain explains that his life force is linked to her, and that the worms she planted in him are growing. She goes on to say that his body is too weak, and if he dies, she will not be able to absorb his Tao power. The protagonist becomes furious when he realizes he is being treated like cattle destined for slaughter in the future. The demon laughs at his anger and says that at his current level, forcing a transfer of power will only overwhelm him. She then proposes that in order to receive her power, he must first reach level A and help her recover. The boy is surprised by the proposal and questions whether the recovery has anything to do with the ghost Yuan. The creature explains that nothing in the world is absolute and that it will tell him what to do when he is strong enough. She warns him that the greater the hope, the higher the price to pay, and asks if he is willing to volunteer. Rindo Hack-Ho offers you an amulet as thanks for awakening her and to help you level up. He holds the strange object and the villainess explains that the amulet contains a part of her power to aid him. The red demon then advises him to use the amulet she gave him only when he is in danger. With an indifferent look, she bids him farewell, telling him not to die. Suddenly, Triad comes to, hearing the voices of his companions calling him to wake up. He then asks if he fainted, and the older man explains that everyone was startled and thought he was possessed. With this, the man shows the young man the crystal cores that fell from the monster they defeated. The protagonist then takes the crystals from the old man's hand, while his ghostly partner watches everything from the side. The old man laments that his team now has only 2 people, and they won't be able to pay the taxes. At that point, our hero lights a cigarette and, without hesitation, refuses the invitation to join their group. You apologize, saying you were presumptuous in asking someone so strong to join a weak team. But to try it interrupts him and says that if their problem is a lack of money, he might have a solution. He then proposes that the 2 join his team, but warns them not to expect him to always save them. The older man cries with gratitude, but the protagonist kicks him away and tells him to stop being dramatic. The boy says that if they want money, they need to go to the monster Barao to get missions in the tower. The other companion then asks why a corpse demon would eat a crystal core like that. The old man begins to explain that since the monster suppression tower appeared, countless people have entered it. He continues the narrative showing how the tower attracted all sorts of people, from patriotic soldiers to streamers, and those seeking fame and fortune. Through this, many managed to obtain valuable resources and unimaginable riches, and some even awakened spiritual powers, becoming hunters. However, the vast majority had no idea of the dangers lurking inside and the terrifying monsters they would have to face. Because of this, countless ordinary people died, and over time their bodies transformed into monsters from the very suppression tower. Those most skilled in Dao techniques had their minds devoured, becoming corpse demons and immortal puppets of that place. The boy in the group is shocked to understand the truth, but the old man calms him down, saying that the ghost won't go crazy if it's fed crystals. But the companion explains that it is not easy to create a corpse demon, because the crystal cores are sold on the black market at absurd prices. Meanwhile, the protagonist faces the amulet the demon gave him, and his ghostly partner appears in a cute version beside him. He then places the object on his companion's forehead, saying that her transformation talisman was about to expire. Soon after, the group arrives at a huge and imposing building that is the headquarters of the Bureau for Monster Suppression, and they are impressed. The chubby companion is amazed by the place that manages guilds, missions, and hunters, and never imagined he would one day be there. At that moment, they look at a screen displaying an urgent student rescue mission at a level B school. Elsewhere, a woman comments on the Sanyu team, whose captain supposedly cleared an A-level tower by himself. She continues the gossip, talking about the night demon twin sisters who are part of the team and are very famous. The protagonist and his team then arrive at the entrance and find the 2 legendary huntresses leaving the premises. The protagonist's partner observes the scene in silence with a coin in her mouth and a serious expression on her face. With that, he approaches the counter and tells the receptionist that he wants to accept the student's mission. The green-haired attendant then asks the young man to state his full name and combat power level. At this point, the young man replies directly that his name is To Try It, and that he is currently a C-rank hunter. The girl is completely surprised and warns him that the mission is rank B and asks if he is sure about the decision, but our hero remains unfazed and tells her not to worry, for life and death depend on fate. The receptionist then confirms the mission, informs you that the tower is under control, and wishes you the best of luck. As she walks away, the attendant thinks he's very handsome, but it's a shame he wants to risk his life like that. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him, recognizing him as the ace of the Sanyu talent scouting team. A blonde man accompanied by a woman taunts him, saying that after all this time his team is still level C. The man continues laughing mockingly and says he forgot that our hero's partner is already gone. With that, To Try It looks somber and furious and asks the man to repeat what he just said. Without thinking twice, the boy lunges at the provocateur, shouting that he is asking for his own death. At that moment, an armed soldier suddenly appears and orders the 2 to stop fighting immediately. Soon after, several guards surround the group and warn them that fighting is prohibited in the area and order them to drop their weapons. One of the protagonist's companions becomes desperate upon seeing the situation and shouts for his boss in a panic. But the blonde rival just smiles and tells To Try It to lower his amulet, because they have things to settle. Our hero simply ignores him and calls him trash, causing the other to explode with rage at the insult. Filled with hatred, the antagonist shouts for to try it to wait, for he will bitterly regret this. With that, he goes to the reception desk and announces that his team, the White Tiger Squad, will also accept the mission. The blonde man then stares at the receptionist and thinks with a wicked smile that the protagonist will surely die now. But suddenly our hero's partner appears in the air and delivers a devastating kick right to the guy's face. To try it then provokes him, saying that he seems dissatisfied and suggests that they meet on the mission to sort things out. With a cold, serious look, the boy stares at his rival and asks menacingly if he heard what was said. We see a flashback of the protagonist holding the amulet the demon gave him, and she says the object has her power. The red-haired creature then advises him to use the talisman only when he is in a dangerous situation. The rival lying on the ground is shocked to recognize the girl as Triuvian and wonders how she survived. At that moment, he realizes the terrible truth and understands that the former huntress has become a corpse demon. In a panic, the man thinks he needs to warn his boss, because a creature like her is worth a lot of money on the black market. The blonde man then yells at the guards, who do nothing, but they explain that they can only intervene in disputes between hunters. In the distance, a girl asks her pink-haired companion if that is the man she always mentions. The young woman with cat ears comments that the boy looks like a big delinquent, while the other stares at him. The woman with pink hair smiles and confirms, saying that her assessment is correct because he is indeed a delinquent. Soon after, the two approach the receptionist, and the group leader asks what to try it wanted there. The attendant then explains that our hero went there to accept the rescue mission at the girls' school. The hunter is surprised and questions how he has already reached rank C and why they let him take a B mission. The girl behind the counter says she can't stop a hunter and tries to calm her down by saying the other team went too. But the woman with pink hair is not convinced and decides that she needs to go to the location to see the situation firsthand. The scene then shows us the facade of the school, where the rescue mission will soon take place. From above we can see that a barrier has been erected around the school, and that the situation seems well controlled. Upon arriving at the location, the protagonist's companions ask if they can come in later to collect some materials. Our hero then turns to his team and says indifferently that they can do whatever they want. With that, the boy and his ghostly companion walk towards the entrance portal of the dungeon. The camera focuses on the young man's foot as he takes his first step into the dangerous challenge that awaits him. Once inside the school, he notices a red energy leaking from the building and says they need to hurry. The protagonist, with a cigarette in his mouth, says it's time to get some B-level cores for his partner. Then he comes across a blonde girl in a school uniform who appears to be in trouble amidst strange vines. The boy observes the girl in the Japanese uniform and comments that the B-level students are really different. The young blonde girl appears embarrassed and vulnerable as she is surrounded by a strange red organic matter. He then recognizes the school uniform and wonders if the girl is a student who has been corrupted by the tower. Suddenly, the student transforms into a terrifying monster and lunges to attack our hero with everything she has. The creature delivers a swift blow with its sharp claws in a fast and furious attack. He realizes that she is very fast, and that the tower is more interesting than he initially imagined. With a cigarette in his mouth, the young man prepares to use a shining talisman to discover her true identity. Then he activates a powerful ice storm talisman that unleashes a barrage of freezing crystals. The creature displays an expression of pain and surprise as it is struck squarely by the boy's ice attack. The hero confirms his suspicions when he sees that the girl was indeed demonized, just as he had imagined before. He questions the demonization process and why such a powerful monster transformed into a student. Seeing that the creature did not give up, he then orders his ghost partner Vian to take care of the situation. With that, the ghost girl advances with a purple aura and delivers a powerful and precise blow to the enemy. A wave of energy hits the protagonist, and he realizes that the demonization of the enemy has a time limit. On top of a building, a girl with purple hair watches the explosion and the battle unfolding below. With a smile, She tells the smoking wolf to become her slave and obey her orders. At that moment, the mysterious girl opens a small bottle that seems to contain something very special. A bizarre creature resembling a terrifying mosquito emerges from inside the container. She then orders the insect monster to fly up and give our hero a really hard sting down below. But the demonized student reappears, and the protagonist says that she has finally decided to show up again. With a smile, he advances into combat and says that he prefers his monstrous opponent's current appearance. The boy then adds that he hopes she will leave a crystal core for his partner Vian. With this, he concentrates his energy and launches a powerful flame attack that completely engulfs the enemy. The blow generates a gigantic explosion of fire and smoke that consumes everything in its path with great force. After the dust settles, he reappears holding a red crystal and celebrates his good fortune in obtaining the item. But without him noticing, the little fly monster lands on his neck. The girl on the roof smiles and remarks that luckily it fell right into her hands, just as planned. Then the protagonist and his partner look up and see the insect monster flying towards them. The mysterious girl says that his work wasn't bad, and that with her help, he can enter the tower safely. She then approaches the protagonist and compliments him, saying that in addition to being good, he is also handsome. With a seductive smile, the girl offers to help tame her pet and invites it to follow her. The boy's partner eats the crystal she gave him and says it's delicious, making the young hero smile. The protagonist thinks she is skilled and decides to follow her plan to see what happens next. The group then follows the mysterious girl. Elsewhere, our hero's rival and his team enter the tower and find the place very strange and dangerous. The leader of the Hobble group says that the place is perfect for ambushing and eliminating to try it without anyone finding out. The blonde man then warns him about Triu Vian's strength and how she defeated him with just one blow. The team leader calls him useless and explains that corpse demons get stronger by absorbing crystals. He goes on to say that the value of a demon like her is high, and that to try it is just an unlucky C-level demon. Abu states that if the protagonist hadn't been expelled from his sect, he wouldn't be there today. Back to our hero, he and his team arrive at a place full of hunters, and the woman says there are many demons there. With a sinister look, the girl says that human greed knows no bounds. Then she releases a swarm of poisonous butterflies and tells everyone to eat well because the meal is served. With this, the poisonous butterflies attack the monsters and devour them alive. The mysterious woman says that becoming food for her insects is not a waste for them. With a satisfied smile, the protagonist thinks that the situation is great and that this will save him some talismans. The group then observes the swarm of butterflies flying around the area as the dust from the battle finally settles. Next, they come across several giant hanging cocoons, and the girl says she's never seen demons do that before. She then asks the boy to go check the cocoons, but he replies mockingly that he doesn't know how to fly. The girl is shocked that he can speak, and the protagonist taunts her, saying that her poison didn't work. He then whispers in his partner Vian's ear and tells her to do what she always does, leaving the other confused. The young hero continues the provocation and says that her cheap tricks no longer have any effect on him. The horned girl then clings to him and begs for forgiveness, imploring him to save the trapped students. But the protagonist pushes her away and says he's not at all interested in rescuing her people. With that, the girl approaches him seductively and promises to reward him after the job is finished. Standing before the cocoons, the protagonist comments that they should prepare themselves because if they are students inside, it's best to give up soon. She becomes desperate, wondering how they ended up there, since the tower should be in the school's basement. The woman is certain that everyone escaped, but at that moment one of the cocoons in front of her begins to move. From within one of the cocoons emerges a terrifying red humanoid creature called Nala. The protagonist asks if that is the student she was looking for, but the girl replies that it is not him. With a serious look, the boy concentrates his energy and prepares to use one of his powerful talismans. He then invokes a fire technique that creates a gigantic and imposing flaming tiger in the air. The creature Nala then launches a high-speed sphere of green energy toward our hero. The energy ball advances against the protagonist's attack. However, the protagonist's attack did not cause any damage to the monster. The protagonist complains that the fire talisman had no effect and asks her for help to fight. In a distant area, a man observes the battle and asks his leader if they should intervene. The leader, named Frank, says no, because their country has a saying that tells them to watch the tigers fight. Frank goes on to explain that Nala is very strong and that they wouldn't be able to defeat her alone. His teammate then asks if they have any chance of winning since their captain is not present. The leader replies with a confident smile that they only need to inform Nala about the treasure in the tower. While they were distracted, some fibers from the cocoons crept up on them. Suddenly, our hero shouts a warning of danger. The girl with purple hair is caught off guard. Then they are wrapped up and placed inside a cocoon. Inside, the two begin to argue, and he asks her not to touch his dragon while she complains about the tightness. The girl then finds herself in an awkward position and complains that his secret weapon is bothering her, trapped in the wires. He asks her to use her insects to retrieve a talisman from his pocket and break the cocoon. With that, the girl takes the amulet that the demon gave him, and the boy says that it will hurt, but he has to wear it. Outside, Hunter Frank and his team observe a glowing cocoon and decide it's time to leave. With a smile on his face, he laments the situation, saying it's a shame because the girl was very pretty. But suddenly an intense light explodes from inside the cocoon, surprising everyone with its power. The protagonist then manages to emerge from the cocoon carrying the girl and complains that it hurt quite a bit. But the girl is still trapped and screams for him to release her, while our hero simply walks away. Suddenly, the demon Yahello appears and the boy realizes that the area around Nala is a dragon's nest. He then wonders how she manages to absorb things if the monsters aren't in his space. The creature explains that it can borrow his power to absorb it, but will leave some for him. The boy thinks Nala is very strong and wonders if he can transfer some of her power to the amulet. Yahello says he can only withstand her power once a day and questions why he didn't use the amulet she gave him. The protagonist says the amulet has great power, but he can withstand the side effects. With his back to the hunters, he calls them sewer rats and asks if they thought they could get away with it. Leader Frank congratulates him on escaping, but questions whether he wants to fight now. With a cigarette in his mouth, the young hero says that he will certainly take care of them, but not personally. With a confident smile, he says that he doesn't need to get his hands dirty to deal with people like them. Frank laughs and calls him a chatterbox, but our hero advises him to look behind him before talking nonsense. Frank's colleague panics and warns his boss that something terrible is happening behind them. Turning around, the leader of the hunters is completely shocked and speechless by what he sees. A giant, terrifying monster suddenly appears and grabs one of the hunters with its enormous hand. The protagonist simply observes the scene and tells his partner that she did a great job. The ghost girl stares at him with a satisfied expression and a cute look as the situation unfolds. Frank panics and realizes that our hero used the giant monster to trap them there. He understands that the monster's first target should be the corpse demon next to the protagonist. The boy's partner explains that she gave him a concealment talisman to lure the monster and deceive it. The giant creature then devours the hunter, and the leader Frank yells for his men to attack with everything they have. The protagonist says he doesn't have time to waste on them because he has his own matters to attend to. Suddenly, the creature Nala emerges in its final form, fully transformed and far more powerful. Our hero then asks his partner Vian to step back a little because the situation is about to get serious. With the demon's amulet in hand, he says with a smile that he's going to test a new combat technique. He then invokes the power of the black flower Yahello as the amulet glows with an intense red energy. Yahello tells him to prepare himself, and chains emerge from the amulet, ready for the imminent attack. The protagonist then unleashes a wave of powerful white flames toward Nala. A giant fire golem emerges and charges at the insect monster with overwhelming force. The fiery creature delivers a massive blow to the enemy with its flaming fist and completely destroys it. The attack incinerates everything in its path, leaving only a large cloud of smoke and fire behind. With a satisfied smile, the boy says that the result was just as he expected. The surviving hunters panic, when they see that he defeated Khan Nala with just 2 blows. One of the men desperately tries to contact his captain, but the giant monster prevents him from escaping. Hakko then says that the smell is good and that he will absorb the creature, while the protagonist questions whether he can refuse. The demon threatens him and says she is hungry. The protagonist holds the body of the absorbed creature as it screams in pain and its face bleeds. A dark energy flows into his body, and Hakko says that power is entering him as a reward. With a seductive smile, she hugs him and says that she is very generous with him and will not take everything for herself. The boy's partner then helps the horned girl to her feet, and she shyly thanks her for the help. At that moment, the girl finds a student ID on the ground and wonders whose it could be. The camera focuses on the identity, revealing the photo and name of a student named Kuk, through from class 8. The girl with purple hair is shocked and wonders if the students are really trapped in the pods. She looks at the cocoons around her and wonders if there is still a chance to rescue the girls. But our hero says it's useless because once Khan Nala's eggs are injected, there's no saving him. He explains that from the moment the eggs were injected, the student's fate was already sealed. The horned girl begins to cry desperately, refusing to believe that there is nothing more to be done. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake violently. The protagonist asks Hakko what's going on, but she says she doesn't know for sure either. Our boy looks at the creature that is attacking the extras until it is falling because of the tremor. The ground continues to tremble and crack as the situation becomes increasingly dangerous and unstable. The protagonist falls to the ground due to the tremor. The 2 girls shout to try its name, worried about what might happen to him. He says he's fine and tells his partner Vien to protect the other girl while he sorts out the situation. Hakko then explains that the monster's aura indicates that the center of the tower is at the bottom, but she warns him that with his current power, it will be impossible to defeat the creature, and he panics. Elsewhere, the rival team encounters a giant plant with human faces attached to it. Our hero's companions are captured, and one of them pleads, saying that they met to try it today. Leader Habu says that they will be the sacrifice to awaken the final boss of the suppression tower. The 2 men plead for their lives, but the team leader simply ignores them and prepares for the ritual. With a wicked grin, the blonde man approaches the old man and says that he will be the first to be sacrificed. With this, he attacks the older man and his companion in an act of pure cruelty and betrayal. Leader Habu then picks up a strange lantern and says that the demon's life and soul will not escape. He declares that everything there will be used by him, while a dark energy begins to envelop the old man. A giant skull appears and the man yells for the creature to come out and devour the sacrifice's soul. Back to the protagonist, he uses his fire amulet again and summons the powerful Lord of Flames. Leader Abu celebrates to try its arrival, because he will be able to use his power to defeat the enemy. The fire tiger charges forward and attacks the enemy in an overwhelming and intense explosion of flames. The rival team is caught in the middle of the explosion, and everyone screams in pain as they are hit by the flames. The enemy leader says that to try it has retreated, and that he is much stronger than he initially thought. The protagonist gets up with the help of his friend and complains of exhaustion due to the effects of Hakko. Habu threatens him, saying that if he hands over his ghost partner, he will let him go in peace. But the boy just smiles and says that even weakened, he can still handle them all. But before the protagonist could use his talisman, the rival attacks first, causing the protagonist and the chubby guy to run away. With a wicked grin, the leader of the rival team licks his lips and asks if they thought they could get away with it. He then uses his lantern and summons an army of ghostly arms that advance to attack. Our hero is shocked to see that the enemy has such a bizarre power. The leader says he has obtained the power of a god, and that the protagonist remains nothing but trash. With a confident smile, the boy replies that it's just a cheap trick and that he's seen better. The villain is surprised that he found out and admits that he inherited the power of a monster. He says that in this world only strength matters, and that the winners remain while the losers disappear. The enemy leader grabs the protagonist and asks where his ghost partner is, but he doesn't answer. At that moment, the blonde man spots the 2 girls hiding in a hole in the wall and alerts his boss. Our hero then shouts his partner's name when he sees that the two have been discovered by the enemies. Then, the ghost warns that the cocoons are about to hatch. Suddenly, several red humanoid monsters begin to emerge from inside the cocoons and surround them. The two prepare to fight when a strange sound catches their attention, and they look up. The creatures then begin to worship one of the cocoons, which opens and reveals a powerful new enemy. From within the cocoon emerges Queen Nala in her final form. The protagonist partner steps forward to protect the other girl. However, the powerful monster notices the ghost's movement and counterattacks. The ghost is caught completely and enveloped by the tentacles. The girl with purple hair screams her name desperately. The queen then stares at the young woman with a menacing look and asks what she intends to do next. Then, the monster starts regurgitating something strange, and when she opens her mouth, her strange tongue is revealed. The girl with purple hair stares at the queen and says that she is to blame for the student's transformation. With a furious look, she decides to play her trump card. The queen realizes the danger, but it is too late. With blood in her eyes, the purple-haired friend vows to avenge the innocent students and unleashes a powerful aura. She then summons a creature and orders it to tear the queen to pieces without mercy. The creature charges forward and attacks the queen with overwhelming force, cutting the monster into thousands of pieces. The protagonist's partner recovers from her injuries while several tentacles fall around her. The girl with purple hair says she finally got her revenge after being forced to use her power, but suddenly she collapses, completely exhausted. After using her final technique, the ghost grabs her in its arms. Our hero's partner then calls her master with a worried look. The enemy leader tells his boss that the ghost is alone and that they must look for her. The face on the giant plant smiles malevolently and says that if you want someone to blame your own weakness. The shadow creature asks what they want with Triuvian. The enemy leader says that he obviously wants her to become the key to opening their path. The creature attacks the leader of the hunters with its giant hand and crushes him against the ground without the slightest mercy. The blonde man is shocked to see his boss defeated and betrayed after freeing the monster. The monster then turns to the blonde man, who is running desperately, begging for help to escape. But the creature attacks him with its tentacles and easily defeats him in a quick and brutal attack. The protagonist faces the monster and his friend suggests they run away, but he says they can't go. With the amulet in hand, the boy says that they cannot win, but that the only option is to risk everything. He then summons an army of fire golems to fight the monster in an epic battle. Hack-Ho appears and says that 3 masters are on their way and hopes that he can buy time until they arrive. The giant monster faces the fire golems and destroys them with a single blow, displaying its power. The protagonist is surprised, and his friend asks what the meaning of that combat tactic is. The monster then turns to them, and the boy realizes the creature is affecting the class's promotion rate. Our hero's friend panics when he sees that they cannot escape the monster's fury. Suddenly, a woman with pink hair appears and grabs the creature's arm with incredible strength. The protagonist's friend recognizes her as one of the leaders of the Sanyu talent scouting team. With this, they are wrapped in bandages. The girl with cat ears tells them to sit down and enjoy the show. She then lands on the ground. The protagonist and his friend are bound together in bandages, and he asks the girl to untie them because they can't breathe. She explains that the tracks are recovering and that the team leader came to help him because she didn't trust him. The boy is happy that a pretty girl cares about him, but she just calls him a delinquent. The girl goes on to explain that the monster Maharaga feeds on envy in order to evolve and become stronger. Our hero is shocked to understand the truth behind the school principal's transformation. The group leader confronts the director, transformed into a monster, and says he is pathetic and deserves to die. She criticizes him, saying that with that appearance, he is not worthy of being a teacher and should be punished. The monster becomes enraged by her words and lunges to attack her. The huntress then uses a Tai Chi technique and counterattacks the monster's fist. With a swift movement, she delivers a powerful blow that sends the monster flying with great force. The creature screams in pain when struck. Hack-Ho appears and praises the boy, saying that he has found a good A-level assistant to fight with. The protagonist then remembers that she said 3 masters were coming and asks where the others are. The demon then replies that they are up there. A massive purple monster looms over a group of hunters, its tongue lolling out as their protective shield weakens. The men look on in terror, one asking if this is the end while another cries out for their leader in desperation. The creature roars and unleashes a powerful beam of energy, ready to finish them off once and for all. But suddenly, the hunters are filled with relief, crying with joy as they realize they have been saved. A woman dressed as a nun, Jessica, appears and scolds them, calling the group a bunch of useless cowards. Carrying a massive scythe, she stands over the rescued men and coldly orders them to stay put and wait for her. She takes a firm step forward, her boots clanking against the rocky ground as she prepares to move. With a determined look, she charges ahead, declaring that the holy item below is hers alone. Her scythe slams into the monster's tough hide, and she notes its impressive resistance to her attack. Meanwhile, the pink-haired leader kicks another monster, saying she will just have to strike it again. This creature has a bizarre, circular mouth with a glowing red core, and it seems to be yelling about students. The warrior unleashes a powerful energy blast from her foot, aiming directly for the monster's weak spot. The girl with cat ears anxiously calls out her leader's name, Xivan. Xivan is suddenly suspended by bright red chains, but continues to fire energy beams at the creature below. Her companion asks if she is all right, and the warrior calmly reassures her that she is fine. The girl notices a mark on Xivan's arm, but the leader only warns her to be careful. Still wrapped in bandages, the protagonist and his friend watch the fight, wondering why the leader keeps dodging. The protagonist observes the battle intently, noting that it seems the powerful warrior has a weakness. After all, his friend is confused, questioning how a high-level master like her could possibly have a weakness. A small diagram explains that Xivan cultivates a technique that grants her immense physical defense and strength. The protagonist explains that while the leader has high physical resistance, she is very weak against magic, making her a target for ranged attacks. His friend is confused, wondering how an A-rank hunter could have such a flaw, but the youth simply says it is complicated. As an explosion rocks the area, the companion asks if they should just wait, but the protagonist states they have another master on their side. The warrior nun, Jessica, grips her scythe tightly, referring to it as the soul of the wicked. Surrounded by a vibrant purple aura, she tells the creature to find peace within the edge of her blade. She faces the monster, realizing the aura of the holy item is not inside it, and that the creature is far stronger than she thought. Jessica then calls the pink-haired warrior, saying that they must unite. The other leader looks surprised, asking who the stranger is and how she knows her name. The nun explains she knows about the famous talent who rose to A rank, introducing herself as an unknown soldier. The 3 women stand ready, and Jessica yells for them to attack the giant monster together. The giant creature is held down by shadowy figures, muttering about the need to strengthen the school's forces. Swarmed by the dark spirits, the monster yells for the teachers to listen to the students. The 3 warriors watch the horde of shadowy figures, one of them wondering if they are the souls of the teachers. Jessica warns the others to stay away from the evil souls. The protagonist's friend is shocked and A rank is suppressed by a B rank, but the youth says anything is possible in the tower. His companion asks how the boss escaped, while the protagonist frees himself from the bandages. He observes the battle, realizing that it would be necessary for the 3 masters to work together. Hack-Ho suddenly appears, telling him that if he leaves, the others will be in trouble, but she knows a way she can help. She says that Khan Nala's aura has disappeared and offers to help him. With a look, the protagonist thinks about the monster on the 2nd floor that resides within his mind. Hack-Ho tells him that from now on, she will not help him, but he can release 1 monster every time he levels up. The protagonist pushes against a massive rock wall, desperately calling out his partner's name, Vian. From a crack high above, his corpse demon companion peeks down, having heard his calls from the other side. He waves his arms wildly, telling her to throw down all of Khan Nala's corpses, so he can absorb them, but his partner just stares at him with a blank expression, stating that she can't hear. She looks completely confused by his strange, multi-armed gestures, trying to understand what he wants from her. Suddenly, She has a moment of realization, connecting his frantic movements to the head of a monster. The young man sighs in relief, glad that his message finally got through to his companion despite the distance. A moment later, the head of a completely different monster crashes down from the opening, surprising him. He wonders why she threw that down instead, questioning if his hand signals were somehow misinterpreted. Hack-Ho appears, saying the noise made it hard for her to hear, but the monster's power is strong enough to use. With a determined grin, the protagonist prepares himself to absorb the power from the decapitated monster head. After 15 long years, a massive, blocky red entity finally awakens, having reached B rank at last. A girl with pink hair and glowing eyes appears before it, laughing victoriously that she has finally escaped. She celebrates the wonder of the outside world, but then questions what this strange, empty place is. Deciding it is just a minor nuisance, the mysterious girl turns her attention to a small figure nearby. The protagonist stands before her, calmly explaining that this is his space and asking her not to cause trouble. Enraged, she declares she is an ancient chaos demon and threatens to kill the blind fool for practice. She suddenly grabs his arm, but both of them look confused by the unexpected physical contact. Hack-Ho explains that the chaos demon's memory is not formed. He cannot harm him. The protagonist nervously asks the chaos demon for help, but she scoffs and questions why she should assist him. Hack-Ho explains the demon's mind is scrambled from being in the tower, and this monster might be too tricky for her to handle. She then teases the young man, saying a weakling like him is not worthy to witness her master's techniques. The chaos demon gets angry, declaring that with 3A rank masters present, they can definitely win the fight. She points at him and yells that she will show him exactly how she handles monsters. While he thinks she is just a child, the giant monster roars, telling the teachers that it is time to end this. Its glowing eyes fixed on the 3 warriors below. The creature's mouth opens wide, revealing a swirling vortex of dark, destructive energy ready to be unleashed. It transforms into a more demonic form with horns, declaring that dying in this state is an honor for them. The pink-haired leader tells her team to go all out, explaining they need to restrain the monster for just 1 second. The nun begins her chant, casting a powerful Solomon seal that creates a massive purple magic circle to trap the beast. As glowing purple tendrils bind the creature, she yells for the others to attack. Now, while it is restrained, her companion then unleashes a massive, flaming projection of a golden warrior. The golden beam of energy strikes the monster directly in its open mouth, causing a massive explosion of light. Jessica and her cat-eared companion watch the aftermath, wondering if their combined attack was successful. The monster begins to regenerate, and the warrior realizes the attack worked. The beast laughs, declaring that inside this tower, it is completely invincible and cannot be defeated. The protagonist watches in shock, while the chaos demon beside him is surprised. He explains that the creature's strength comes from parasitic evil souls, granting it infinite regeneration. He tells the demon to stop talking, take out her brush, turn around, and squat, needing to enter her body to cast a spell. She asks if this is what he means and crouches down as instructed. He confirms it and tells her to hold still. She suddenly sits on his shoulders and wraps her legs around his neck, telling him to hold still. She explains that it does not matter who enters whose body, as long as he holds the brush firmly. He finishes drawing a large, intricate symbol on the floor with the magic brush. The protagonist and the chaos demon stand before the massive calligraphy, and he says it will have to do for now. He then tells her to come with him and chant the spell together, much to her annoyance. With smiles, they use their combined power, creating a flaming aura around them. Together, they summon a massive, fiery red entity, a powerful being known as the Immovable King. The summoned king's fiery aura expands, engulfing the area as it prepares to face the regenerating monster. With a look, now imbued with the king's power, calls the monster a demon. The Immovable King grabs the monster's head and slams it into the ground, ordering it to lie down. The king tells the monster that because of its greed, it possesses a power that does not belong to it. The fiery summon declares it will now manifest its original form, the evil slaying spirit, as it prepares its final attack. The monster cries out in defiance, saying it is a god and questioning how a mere mortal dares to challenge it. The protagonist simply smirks and asks what this so, called God is, clearly unimpressed by its threats. The immovable king grabs the creature's head and orders it to die, crushing it with immense force. As the monster disintegrates, a small, golden, ornate object is left behind in the king's hand. The warrior nun Jessica recognizes the item with a smile, identifying it as the holy relic. The pink-haired leader, Zai Van, also sees the object and wonders what it is, her expression curious. Suddenly, she finds herself bound by the same purple chains the nun used earlier, crying out in surprise. As Jessica moves to claim the relic, Zai Van yells that the holy item belongs to her, but before she can grab it, the protagonist snatches the holy relic, declaring that he has got it. A third woman in a dark outfit joins the fight, kicking Jessica's side as the conflict over the item intensifies. The protagonist stands triumphant, holding the relic high above the bickering women, who yell at him in frustration. With the relic in hand, he apologizes to the woman, saying he cannot fulfill their wishes. The cat-eared girl thanks him for helping and offers to consider him their nation's friend. He laughs, patting his corpse demon on the head, saying he will give her a bigger spirit core later. Jessica glares at him, angrily asking if he really is not going to give her the relic. With a swing of her scythe, she creates a powerful shockwave, sending debris flying everywhere. She then points her weapon towards a group of students hanging in cocoons, telling him to look at them. The protagonist is surprised to see that there are still survivors trapped in the hanging pods. The pink-haired leader, Zai Van, looks on with a grim expression, muttering, "Damn it." The nun demands he hand over the relic, threatening that if he does not, the students will die. The protagonist smirks, asking the chaos demon if there is any other way to deal with the situation. Suddenly, an injured girl with purple hair grabs his sleeve, begging him to save her people. She explains that her people have been kind to her, and that she can't bear to see them turn into monsters. The young hero asks if she will come to him later if he gives the relic to her now, and she remains silent. The pink-haired leader explains that she is willing to risk everything for the relic to prove her devotion to her country. The injured girl looks on, tears in her eyes as she processes the difficult situation. Zai Van warns that she does not have time to waste, and if he does not hand over the relic, the students will die. He sighs and finally agrees, tossing the holy relic over to the determined warrior. The purple-haired girl and the pink-haired warrior look on in shock, surprised by the young man's decision. However, before the relic reaches her, it transforms into a paper talisman and flies towards the nun instead. With a confident smirk, the protagonist says that is not a polite gesture to refuse what is offered. As the nun holds the talisman, she is suddenly surrounded by glowing red chains, trapping her completely. From the ground, dozens of red, eyeball-covered creatures rise up, and the nun is horrified by the sight. She struggles against the creatures, trying to fend them off, but she is quickly overwhelmed by their numbers. The pink-haired leader asks the young man where he learned such a powerful and strange technique. Suddenly, the nun starts vomiting a thick, red substance, clearly suffering from the effects of the spell. The protagonist asks Hack-Ho about the disgusting curse. The nun holds her head in agony, declaring that she will absolutely not die in a place like this. She decides she has no choice but to use her ultimate technique, and her hand begins to glow with golden light. In a flash of brilliant light, she teleports away, leaving the other warriors stunned by her sudden disappearance. A large magic circle is left on the ground where she once stood, and the pink-haired leader asks if she ran away. The cat-eared girl comments that the nun must have used some kind of teleportation magic to escape. Hack-Ho tells the protagonist to prepare himself as she is not yet finished fighting. He then asks the chaos demon about the talisman, and she arrogantly calls him an ignorant fool. Hack-Ho tells him to focus on the matter at hand as a red energy claw reaches for his throat. After the explosion, the two women are shocked to see the protagonist transformed into a small, fluffy creature. The cute, cat-like beast howls happily, enjoying its new form much to everyone's surprise. Hack-Ho notes that forcing the talisman's power turned him into a beast. The cat-eared girl holds the small creature, asking why he suddenly turned into a cat. The pink-haired leader explains that he is not a cat, but a mythical beast called the Bai-Zi. She reassures them that it is probably just a temporary transformation, and he will recover in time. She then gathers the spoils of the battle, saying they need to arrange them for the students. She hands a bag to the corpse demon, entrusting her with taking care of the transformed protagonist. Vian takes the bag and holds her master in his new cat form, acknowledging the request. Later, the protagonist's two friends from the beginning of the arc find her, asking about the survivors. The large man tells her that, if she cannot provide for her new companion, they can help. Back in the tower, the leader of the White Tiger Squad lies defeated, muttering the protagonist's name. He weakly calls out for help one last time, before succumbing to his injuries and passing away. The scene shifts to a large, futuristic structure high in the sky, identified as District 26. Below the floating city, there is a stark contrast, with rundown buildings and a much poorer neighborhood. In a dark room, a single line of light appears as someone's eyes slowly open. The corpse demon Vian senses her master's aura, realizing she is about to have another breakthrough. She reflects on how 10 years ago, the Sky Palace appeared, creating a strict class divide that has only grown stronger. The protagonist, still in his cat form, wakes up in a strange bed, wondering where he is and where his hands have gone. He looks down and is surprised to find his tiny paws resting on the chest of the purple-haired girl he saved. She wakes up with a smile, telling him how cute he is as she picks him up and gives him a big hug. Vian is seen meditating on the bed, and the girl tells the cat she wants to take a bite out of him. She then offers to take him for a bath. He seems to enjoy it. In the bathroom, the girl enjoys a relaxing shower, while the protagonist watches from the side. As a cat, he enjoys the view, thinking to himself that the scenery is quite wonderful. The steam from the shower obscures most of the view, but the young man is still having a good time. Hakho appears, teasing him and warning that his time in this form is almost up. The protagonist is suddenly shocked as a bright light envelopes him, signaling the end of his transformation. He reverts to his human form and realizes with horror that he is no longer wearing any clothes. In a panic, he looks around the steamy bathroom, realizing the situation is extremely dire. The girl asks if he wants to take a bath too, holding up a bar of soap as he tries to refuse. She grabs him, and he thinks he is completely doomed. The young man is then seen with her, much to her embarrassment. He tries to explain the situation, but his words are muffled by the cows of the bath. The girl, however, seems to have a completely different idea of what is happening, a blush on her face. Outside the bathroom, the pink-haired leader asks Vian where everyone else has gone. His companion points towards the closed door, explaining that her master has turned into a cat. The cat-eared girl is surprised that the corpse demon can speak, and the leader corrects her about his form. Suddenly, a strange purple energy emanates from behind the door, catching the woman's attention. The pink-haired leader throws the door open, demanding to know what is going on inside. She finds the protagonist on the floor, trying to explain that it is all just a misunderstanding. The woman outside burst into laughter, teasing him about his unfortunate and hilarious predicament. Vian prepares to throw a basin of water at him, asking what he is hiding. The women all scream in shock as they witness the embarrassing scene unfold before them. Later, the group sits down to discuss the relic, which is now identified as the Compass of Desire. The pink-haired leader explains that the compass is still incomplete, as it is missing a single jade piece. The protagonist remembers a past trauma, recalling how his master disappeared, trying to save him from a monster. In a flashback, he and his sister cry out for their master as he is overwhelmed by demonic forces. The master fights valiantly, telling the children to run as he holds back the horde of monsters. The young man reflects on how he joined the talent hunting team to become stronger and find his master's whereabouts. The pink-haired leader offers him a place in her team, suggesting they might have information about his master. He politely declines, stating that he does not like to be tied down and the team is not as upright as it used to be. The leader agrees to help him and takes the bag of items from the school, saying she will hand it in for him. He tells Vian that their B-rank mission will surely have a great reward, and they should go claim it. The purple-haired girl he saved shyly asks if she can join his hunting party, looking hopeful. Before he can answer, she is whisked away through a closing door, disappearing in a flash of light. He arrives at the mission center, telling the receptionist that he is there to hand in his completed quest. The receptionist is surprised to see him, questioning if he really completed the B rank mission. Suddenly, the compass of desire in his hand begins to glow with an intense, golden energy. A new A rank mission appears on the screen, and he wonders if it contains something he needs. He confidently tells the receptionist that he wants to accept the new A rank mission. The woman is shocked, reminding him that the tower is on lockdown and he needs a special key to enter. He holds up the bag of items, explaining that the proof he needs is right inside it. She is shocked that he managed to kill an A rank boss and retrieve its head as proof. He places a golden key on the counter, telling her to register him for the mission immediately. She warns him that the tower is not only located outside the city, but is also under a mysterious curse. He confidently accepts the mission, and she wishes him a victorious return as he walks away. Outside, his former teammates see him and comment on how he is still alive after all this time. The protagonist lights a cigarette, thinking that he needs to make some preparations before heading out. He finds himself back in the strange red space, calling out to the Chaos Demon for a meeting. He screams her name repeatedly, his voice echoing through the strange, fleshy dimension. The Chaos Demon appears and hits him on the head, annoyed that he is making so much noise. He asks her to teach him a spell, explaining that Hakko told him she is a master of charms. She puts him in a headlock, angry that he is disturbing her sleep and questioning his intentions. The scene shifts to a bustling market, with the young man asking if they really needed to come here. He walks through the crowded street with the Chaos Demon on his shoulders, feeling a bit out of place. She explains that a talisman's power is limited by rank, and who uses it will affect the outcome. She says he needs to find good materials, but unfortunately, the market is full of useless junk. He wonders if he should look for something that can help him defeat A-rank monsters. The demon tells him that is a nice dream, but an A-rank talisman can only be activated by a B-rank user. He asks if there are any exceptions, and she smirks, saying there might be one way. She points to a nearby shop, telling him that he might be able to buy what he needs there. He looks at a small figurine and asks if she is referring to that. The shopkeeper recognizes the figurine as a treasure from his shop, used by a famous master. The protagonist scoffs at the man's attempt to scam him, pointing out the figurine's poor craftsmanship. He starts to walk away, but the shopkeeper panics and offers to sell it to him for a much lower price. Hakko appears and tells him to buy the box next to it as well, saying it will be useful for his corpse demon. He agrees and tells the shopkeeper he will buy both items, asking if he can get a discount. The scene shifts to the outskirts of the city, and the protagonist laughs, happy with his purchases. He walks along a stone path with his companion, saying that with his new items, his cultivation bag is complete. He says that now that he is fully supplied, they can finally set off on their new mission. The purple-haired girl he saved peeks from behind a tree, determined to follow him and not let him get away. He asks Vian if she has learned to read poetry yet, but she simply says she does not know. Hiding in the trees, the nun from before declares that no matter what, she will get her hands on the holy item. The protagonist examines the figurine, wondering how to use it and if the materials are inside. The Chaos Demon pops out, yelling at him for trying to break the figure and calling him an idiot. She explains that the materials are in the Buddha's treasure, which is of the highest quality. She then tells him to open the box and to only use it when his corpse demon is in big trouble. He agrees and takes the box, ready to continue his journey with his new tools and companions. The Chaos Demon is excited, telling him to bring out his tools so they can start researching and making talismans. He lights a cigarette, thinking that he has died many times, but he must win this time for the people he cares about. He takes a deep breath, then prepares for the dangerous mission that awaits him. He walks into a dark, gloomy village, noting that the data he received did not mention it being so ominous. He and his companion walk through the deserted streets of Deloa village, wondering if this is the work of the tower. The protagonist notes the eerie silence, saying he cannot see anyone and does not know if the village elder is still around. Vian suddenly points ahead, nervously saying that there is a ghost up ahead. They both see a shadowy figure with a green aura standing in a dark alleyway between two buildings. A creepy, white-haired man with a wide, toothy grin appears, his eyes wide and unsettling. He tells his companion to handle the ghost, and she agrees, ready to take on the creepy figure. Vian prepares to attack, her hands glowing with purple energy as she focuses on her target. In a flash of purple light, she lunges forward, her movements swift and precise as she closes in on the enemy. She grabs the ghost from behind, her glowing hands holding him in a tight grip as he struggles to break free. The protagonist is impressed, noting that while her memory is not fully recovered, she can now use her corpse skills. The ghost begins to transform, its skin turning dark and its hands growing long, sharp claws. Vian realizes that this is not a ghost, but a powerful white zombie, a much more dangerous foe. He wonders if the cause is related to the flower pattern on the creature's arm and the curse he heard about. His companion summons purple energy strings, preparing to use a powerful soul-tracking technique. With a final move, she finishes binding the zombie, and the protagonist laughs, admiring her beautiful work. They decide to proceed further into the tower, hoping to find the village elder and some answers. Glowing purple butterflies flutter around a skull, and the protagonist comments on the unexpected sight. The purple-haired girl from before appears. She questions whether this place is related to a curse. In a hidden laboratory, a Buddha statue is connected to various tubes and machines, a strange experiment in progress. A man reads a report, wondering who else has the power to challenge the tower. He impatiently tells his subordinate to just handle it, and not to bother him with trivial matters. A woman with glasses reports that the situation this time is different from previous incidents. She shows him a photo of the purple-haired girl, explaining that she is a saintess from the heavenly palace. The man is skeptical, questioning if she is really a saintess from such a powerful place. He orders his men to investigate her, saying that this is their chance to finally infiltrate the heavenly palace. The protagonist knocks on a door, announcing that he is to try it and calling for his uncle. An old man peeks out, surprised to see his nephew standing there after all this time. The old man quickly ushers him and his companion inside, telling them to hurry up and get in. Once inside, the young man asks his uncle what has been happening in the village recently. The old man looks down, saying that there are some things he cannot speak about. The protagonist then asks about his sister, Lamdine, wondering how she is doing after all these years. His uncle silently leads him further into the house, gesturing for him to come inside. A strange, ominous sound echoes from above, and the old man looks up in fear, asking what it is. He tells his nephew not to go outside, warning that he will bring a curse upon himself if he does. The protagonist peeks through a crack in the door, wondering who would be out at this time of night. He sees a grand procession, with a veiled bride being carried in a sedan chair, surrounded by creepy, doll-like figures. He is shocked to recognize the bride as his long-lost sister, Lamdine, now part of this strange ritual. The procession moves through the courtyard, the doll-like figures appearing. The old man shouts at his nephew to close the door. The procession continues, the chanting growing louder as they move through the night. The doll-like figures turn their heads in unison, their creepy smiles fixed on the door as the procession passes. The old man leans against the door, exhausted and relieved that the immediate danger has passed. The protagonist stands with his companion, asking his uncle why he can no longer bear to listen to his nephew. The old man looks down in shame, admitting that he does not know how to explain the terrible situation. He breaks down in tears, saying he had no choice but to let them take his daughter, Lamdine. The protagonist notices a strange, dark mark on his uncle's hand, a sign of the curse affecting the village. The old man cries, saying that this situation is completely different from anything his nephew has ever faced. He begs the young man to leave while he still can, pushing him towards the door in a desperate attempt to save him. The protagonist calmly reassures his uncle, saying that he understands the gravity of the situation. He promises to bring Lamdine back safely, his expression firm and determined as he prepares to leave. The doll-like figures announce that the auspicious hour has arrived, and it is time to enter the bridal chamber. The protagonist and Vian watch from a treetop as the procession enters a dark, ominous-looking cave. He asks Hack-Ho if she saw his sister go inside, and she confirms that she did. Hack-Ho explains that the tower is man-made, and the bride is a sacrifice, which means she is in grave danger. She clarifies that man-made towers are of two types, one for raising monsters and another for empowering corrupted individuals. She concludes that no matter which type of tower it is, the girl who just entered is sure to die. Inside the cave, a large, grotesque creature greets the new bride, its long tongue lolling out. It tells Lam Dun to come to him, its voice filled with a creepy, unsettling excitement. The grotesque beast grabs her and says he wants to taste her, bringing her close to its massive, toothy mouth. From the shadows, the protagonist watches, preparing to intervene and save his sister. He promises not to waste her beauty, ready to consume her and absorb her power. Suddenly, a voice from above tells the creature to take its filthy mouth off the girl. Vian Vian appears and delivers a powerful punch, sending the grotesque monster flying. She follows up with a swift kick, her attack precise and devastating as she finishes off the beast. The protagonist catches his sister, relieved that he was able to save her in time. He looks at the defeated monster, realizing it was just a puppet used to channel energy for the tower. His sister, Lam Din, slowly comes to her senses and asks if it is really him. She is shocked to see him there, warning him that the place is incredibly dangerous. He tells her it is a long story, but the important thing is that she is safe now. Lam Din explains that the mark on her shoulder was placed there by the people from the demon, suppressing agency. She recounts how she stumbled upon them, building a strange structure on the mountain. She overheard them saying that anyone who enters the village will be cursed and die if they try to leave. He is shocked to learn about the curse, realizing why his uncle was so desperate for him to leave. He asks his inner demons if they know a way to remove the curse, looking for any possible solution. Hak Ho and the Chaos Demon both admit they have never seen this kind of curse before. Suddenly, the purple-haired girl appears, telling him that she knows how to remove the seal. She offers to help him, but only if he agrees to let her join his hunting party. He questions why she is so persistent, and she warns him to look out behind him. His sister, now possessed, advances toward him with a scythe, her eyes gleaming with an ominous light. But Vian Vian reacts quickly, blocking the attack with her bladed weapon. The protagonist taunts the possessed girl, asking if she has come back to die since he did not kill her last time. The nun from before appears, her eyes glowing, and says that he must have noticed her presence. He explains that his sister has never called him by his full name, which tipped him off to the deception. The nun tells him to hand over the compass, promising to let him die a quicker death if he complies. He asks where the real girl who was impersonating his sister is, and the nun points to a nearby location. She smirks, reassuring him that she has not killed the girl yet, at least not for now. She stands over his sister's unconscious body, saying she will just leave her by the side of the road. He realizes he needs to deal with the nun quickly to save his sister and get the answers he needs. He smirks, saying that the fish has finally taken the bait and his plan is coming together. Suddenly, a group of armed soldiers surrounds them, their guns pointed at the protagonist and his companions. The night sky is quiet, with only the rustling of leaves and the faint glow of the moon. The man with the eye patch from before appears, questioning why the demon, suppressing agency, is getting involved. The nun tells them that they are not enemies, and she is only there to retrieve what is hers. The man scoffs, telling her to get lost before he changes his mind and decides to eliminate her. She questions why the supposedly righteous agency has turned into a group of villains. The nun taunts them, saying that she has heard the artifact they are after belongs to the heavenly palace. In a flash, the woman from the man's team appears behind the nun and stabs her through the chest. The protagonist and his companions watch in shock as the nun is killed with a single, brutal blow. The nun's body falls to the ground, and the woman says she was just a spy who did not need to be reported. The man with the eye patch then turns his attention to the protagonist, asking if he is the one who defeated the great god. He then asks the young man why he is traveling with the saintess from the heavenly palace. The protagonist is confused, saying he does not know any saintess, and asks who he is talking about. A massive, glowing blue wolf appears behind the man, its eyes blazing with a fierce energy. The protagonist and his companions are enveloped in a powerful blue aura, unable to move under the immense pressure. He realizes he might have to use his new talisman, but wonders if it will be enough to defeat such a powerful foe. The man orders his subordinate to take the saintess, and lock up the other two companions. Suddenly, the protagonist kicks the woman away, sending her flying into the trees. She is shocked by his sudden burst of strength, wondering how he was able to move. She reports to her superior that the target has escaped their pursuit using some kind of earth technique. She is then covered by a hand and pulled into the darkness, disappearing without a trace. The man asks if this is what she calls intelligence work, clearly disappointed in her failure. She apologizes profusely, promising that she will not let it happen again in the future. He orders his men to strengthen the patrols and find the fugitives at any cost. The woman holds her head in pain, still reeling from the unexpected and humiliating defeat. Elsewhere, the protagonist and his companions rest in the forest, recovering from the intense encounter. His friend complains about the ordeal, saying that next time, he will not let them get away so easily. He apologizes for the trouble, explaining that he is still not used to his new powers. His friend laughs it off, saying it was just a coincidence that they ran into each other. Vian asks if the two are having fun with all this. Our hero explains that this is an A-rank mission, and that the dangers are much greater. He yells at them, saying that there is still time to turn back and get out of this dangerous place. His friend apologizes, saying he knows he is a burden and only came along to get stronger. He admits that he is tired, just wants to find a way to help his master, even if it is just a little. He thinks back to a time when he was a child, and his master was still strong and full of life. The purple-haired girl teases him, asking what will happen if she gets kidnapped. While he is distracted, the protagonist tells her to be quiet and pay attention, warning her not to die without knowing why. His friend suddenly speaks up, saying that he discovered something strange while he was scouting ahead. The protagonist turns to him, intrigued by this new information and asking what he found. He explains that he heard the cries of a baby coming from a deserted house, which is highly unusual. He says he was too scared to investigate further, but he is sure that he heard a baby's cry. The protagonist is surprised, realizing this could be a clue to the tower's strange nature. He thinks about the man with the eye patch and how they were completely unaware of the tower's true purpose. He realizes that his sister may have been sacrificed at the exact moment they were dealing with the agency. He tells his companions that they need to hurry and enter the tower immediately to save his sister. They arrive at the tower, a massive, dark structure with glowing green windows and strange, fleshy tentacles. He believes that the main entrance must be somewhere in the front of the ominous building. As they approach, the fleshy walls of the tower part, revealing a dark and mysterious entrance. A giant, green caterpillar-like monster with a creepy, human-like face emerges from the darkness. He warns his companions that the journey ahead will be dangerous, and they should stick close to him. Vian thanks his friend for his help, and he tells her to just wait and see what he can do. The purple-haired girl smirks, saying that once she enters, she will show her true power and make them all submit to her. She makes a funny face, her tongue lolling out as she imagines her glorious victory over her enemies. After 10 minutes, his friend asks why no monsters have appeared, and the protagonist tells him to be quiet. The girl teases him about the time he turned into a cat, and he angrily denies that he wanted to be there. His friend sees a strange, shadowy figure on the wall, but is not sure what it is. He nervously tells the protagonist that the situation is very strange, pointing to the mysterious figure. The protagonist asks what it is, and the girl warns him not to touch the strange, gooey substance on the wall. A single, large green eye opens from the substance, staring at them with an unnerving intensity. He lights a cigarette, remarking that this A-rank tower's monsters are certainly unique and perfect for reconnaissance. The eye creature suddenly flees, and he tells his companions to follow it, believing it is going to alert others. He orders Vian to catch the fleeing creature, and she immediately leaps into action. She moves with incredible speed, her purple energy crackling as she chases after the eyeball monster. His friend says he cannot keep up, and the girl agrees, saying the creature is too fast to catch. The purple-haired girl tells her insect companion, Van, to follow the creature and not let it escape. The insect flies off, chasing the eyeball monster through the dark, winding corridors of the tower. The group is out of breath, and his friend wonders how the target suddenly disappeared without a trace. The protagonist is confused, wondering if the creature has a skill that allows it to disappear. He taps his chest, feeling a slight vibration and realizing that there is a cave hidden nearby. He confirms that there is indeed a cave, and that the creature must have escaped through it. He tells Tu Van to go and see how far the passage goes, sending the insect to scout ahead. The purple-haired girl is surprised as her insect companion, Tu Van, returns to her. Tu Van chirps and buzzes, relaying the information it gathered from its scouting mission. The girl tells the protagonist that there are machines and monsters deep underground. His friend suggests digging a tunnel, but the protagonist dismisses the idea, not wanting to get his hands dirty. The young hero suggests using an elevator, and his friend wonders if they can find one in a place like this. Vian walks towards a hidden elevator, and his friend comments on how smart she is becoming. The group takes the elevator down, and his friend is amazed by the advanced technology. They arrive in a large, futuristic laboratory, and he wonders if this is another tower. His friend points out a group of small, ghost-like creatures carrying boxes and other items. The girl is enchanted by the cute creatures and asks what their names are, but the protagonist tells her to put them down. He looks around at the piles of junk and discarded equipment, wondering what is going on. A man in a lab coat emerges from the trash, saying he has finally found item AZO-8073. The protagonist asks what he is doing there, his expression wary and suspicious. The scientist introduces himself, welcoming them to his laboratory with a wide, unsettling grin. The protagonist asks if he is from the demon suppressing agency and where his sister, Lam Dime, is. The scientist introduces himself as Garen Spry and offers to tell them everything in exchange for a small favor. The protagonist is skeptical, asking what kind of favor a scientist would need from him. With a sinister smile, Garen asks if he can dissect the young man's brain to study his powers. The group stands ready for a fight, their expressions grim as they face the mad scientist. He tells him to give up, saying that an old man like him is no match for their combined strength. The protagonist is alarmed, wondering if the mad scientist can read his mind. He threatens Garen, warning him that he will kill him before he has a chance to read his memories. Garen scoffs, saying he has no interest in his memories and is more curious about how the tower appeared. He explains that everything in the world is connected by cause and effect, even seemingly random events. Since the towers appeared, scientists have been studying the monsters within them, trying to understand their origins. They discovered that the creature's DNA is completely alien, with no connection to any life on Earth. Garen reveals that the towers can read the unconscious fields of humans, influencing their thoughts and emotions. The tower acts like a silkworm, feeding on human emotions to grow stronger and create familiar yet terrifying monsters. He discovered that when a person's faith reaches a certain limit, they can resonate with the tower's power. He points to a large green tube, revealing a woman floating inside, and calls it the next step in human evolution. The protagonist is horrified to see his sister, Lam Dime, trapped in the tube, and demands to know what Garen is doing. Garen explains that the tower is not an enemy, but a key to unlocking a new future for humanity. He declares that the young man is the key to his research, his expression wild and ecstatic. The protagonist tells Vian to go and save his sister while he deals with the mad scientist. Garen laughs, saying that his corpse demon knows how to fight, as the protagonist unleashes a fiery attack. The man with the eye patch appears and blocks the attack with his bare hands, his expression grim. His female companion kicks Vian away from the tube, telling her to get lost. The protagonist holds her, warning her to be careful, as they are now facing two powerful opponents. Garen introduces himself as a member of the J family from the Celestial Palace. He smiles with insane excitement as he prepares for battle. His friend is shocked, asking if he knows people from the Heavenly Palace, but he denies it. He explains that the Heavenly Palace is a floating city, a place that controls the entire world. The woman reports to Garen that she has brought the person he requested. Garen tells her to bring him out so he can share the results of his research with them. The protagonist is shocked to see what she has brought, his eyes widening in disbelief. He cries out his uncle's name, rushing to the old man's side as he lies injured on the ground. He promises to save both him and his daughter, his voice filled with determination. Garen explains that the original plan was to use the family to obtain the God's Stone, but things have changed. He says he decided to let the old man reunite with his daughter as a reward for his cooperation. The protagonist yells at his uncle to take his daughter and run, trying to create a diversion. He looks at his companions, his expression serious, as he prepares for the coming battle. The old man kneels before Garin's subordinate, begging for the god stone he was promised. He pleads with the man, his voice desperate as he asks for the precious artifact. The protagonist is confused, asking his uncle what he is talking about and telling him to take his daughter. Garin says it is too late and that there is a more suitable person for the experiment now. The old man screams in despair, realizing that he has been betrayed and will not get the god's stone. He cries out, saying he has paid a great price and deserves to receive the reward. The protagonist asks what he is doing, reminding him that his daughter is right there waiting for him. The old man's eyes turn black, and he transforms into a monstrous creature. Garin encourages him, telling him to let his emotions run wild and give in to his desires. The old man is consumed by darkness, his body twisting and contorting into a monstrous form. He emerges as a grotesque creature, his mind completely gone as he mutters about the god's stone. Garin notes that experiment 1012 has failed, but is pleased that he has made progress in his research. He orders the small ghost-like creatures to clean up the mess, their cute appearance belying their grim task. The man with the eye patch unleashes a fiery attack, his hands engulfed in flames as he prepares to fight. Garin looks on, a slight smile on his face as he anticipates the coming battle. The protagonist realizes the horrifying truth, asking if all the monsters in the tower are the villagers. The scientist claims that not everyone is like the protagonist. He then laughs, calling the situation pitiful, but the young man is simply confused by his words. He seethes with anger, calling the scientist heartless and worse. Garin remains silent, his expression completely unfazed by the young hero's harsh insults. The scientist orders them not to kill the protagonist, just to keep him alive. The man with the eye patch acknowledges the command. In response, the protagonist summons the 9 abyssal 100 ghosts, unleashing a wave of spectral energy and ghostly warriors. He yells at his companions to escape immediately, warning them that this fight is too dangerous for them. They agree to leave. The man with the eye patch orders his subordinate to capture the saintess, and she quickly moves to obey his command. He looks at the approaching horde of ghosts, dismissing the powerful technique as nothing more than a flashy, useless display. With a single powerful motion, he punches through the spectral warriors, shattering them with ease. Meanwhile, the female subordinate pursues the purple-haired girl, telling her to stop. The girl asks why she is being chased. She insists she is not a saintess and prepares to fight back, unleashing her powerful insect bone sect technique. The subordinate moves with incredible speed, leaving an afterimage that shocks the girl, who wonders if it is instant movement. Before she can fully react, the subordinate strikes her down with a swift and powerful blow, sending her to the ground. The attack connects with the floor, creating a powerful impact that sends shockwaves through the area. The woman smiles, observing how difficult it is to capture the sate, but she asks why she isn't protecting her master. Vian stands defiantly, shielding the fallen girl from harm. Furious that the woman is trying to kill her, she apologizes to the scientist, telling him not to break the lab equipment. The protagonist stares at the man with the eye patch, asking if he's had enough time. The man says he hasn't killed him yet, because he's still useful. He advises him to stop resisting. The protagonist challenges him, realizing his opponent destroyed his ghosts with pure strength, a true S-rank power. He decides not to hold back, pulling out his trump card to end the battle in one decisive move. He unleashes the incarnate dragon god axe, a massive wave of golden flames that surges toward his foe. Engulfed in fire, the man calls him stubborn, warning that such a move could hit his own allies in the chaos. He questions if the young man truly believes he can be a hero with such a simple trick. The opponent states that anyone who wants to be a hero must first understand the price they have to pay. He scoffs that the flame is not even hot enough to light his cigar, then proceeds to inhale the fiery attack. The young hero is stunned, watching in disbelief as his enemy completely swallows the powerful flame. The man promises to return the fire, slightly modified to be painless, as it swirls around him in a vortex. As the fiery vortex rushes toward him, the protagonist prepares an ice talisman to defend himself. He unleashes a powerful ice palm, creating a massive wall of ice that collides with the returned flames. Standing amidst the smoke, his opponent calmly tells him not to die from the impact. Meanwhile, his friend hides in fear, trying to think of a way to help him in this situation. He sees his companions fighting and realizes the mad scientist is now the only one left unguarded. He plans to sneak past the battle, rescue Lam Dun from the tube, and then escape without being noticed. But he immediately dismisses the idea, scolding himself for thinking of abandoning his friends. He remembers the words of his master, who encouraged him to become who he wants to be and live without regret. With tears in his eyes but a new resolve, he tightens his grip on his trusty shovel, ready to act. Back at the main fight, the protagonist stands his ground and asks his opponent if he wants to continue. The man observes that his spell consumed a lot of energy. The Chaos Demon appears, teasingly asking why he stopped fighting. She says a fool could never use talismans, so he should just surrender. He reasons that his death would be of no use to them. From his opponent's tone, he senses there must be another way out of this. The demon says she does not care if he lives or dies, only that the man used her axe. She offers a hack to win, but he must become her puppet. He quickly rejects that offer, choosing the second option instead. The demon explains this method relies entirely on his own spiritual power. She explains that a talisman is not just an object, but a direct extension of the user's spiritual energy. It acts as a medium, allowing its user to project their spiritual power and influence the world around them. Because a talisman is a consumable item, she says its true potential can never be fully unleashed by normal means. The demon explains that talismans are a manifestation of his spiritual power. The protagonist closes his eyes, deeply contemplating the idea of changing a talisman's properties mid-use. A flashback shows his master challenging him to a game, betting that he can guess the boy's talisman. The boy agrees, but only if his master signs his test paper, and promises not to tell his mother about his grades. He mischievously prepares a new talisman, determined to create something his master will never be able to guess correctly. After finishing, he proudly holds up the talisman and challenges his master to guess what he has created. The master thinks for a moment, and the young boy eagerly reminds him of the bet they just made. His master confidently guesses it is a water talisman, but the boy excitedly declares that he is wrong. He reveals the paper doll talisman, which clearly has the character for water drawn on it, and celebrates his master's mistake. The boy freezes as his master laughs, teasing him about the water talisman. He clenches his fist, realizing that his master was only acting. Back in the present, the man with the eye patch observes, surprised to see that his opponent is still standing. The protagonist holds up a talisman, asking if his opponent appreciates the taste of fire. The protagonist declares that this time, his opponent will truly suffer, knowing this is his only opportunity to strike. Meanwhile, the subordinate teleports around, and the purple-haired girl complains that she cannot see the target to attack. Vian prepares her corpse needle technique, forming sharp purple energy projectiles at her fingertips. She unleashes her attack, but the subordinate dodges with ease, taunting that the strikes are useless if they cannot connect. Frustrated, she watches her opponent disappear into a strange mist. She then notices multiple footprints on the ground, questioning why there are so many and why they seem to be circling her. The subordinate reappears, while the girl realizes that the footprints match perfectly. With this new information, she has a sudden flash of inspiration. Vian continues her attack, but the subordinate knows she is only following orders. Suddenly, the purple-haired girl shouts a warning, telling Vian to look behind her to the right. Following the instruction, Vian spins around and lands a solid blow, shocking her opponent with the successful counterattack. The woman is sent flying backward, completely bewildered as to how she was hit so easily. Vian calls her a cheat, revealing that she discovered the teleportation was just an illusion. The subordinate angrily demands to know how they managed to see through her advanced technique. The girl explains that her constant movement left numerous footprints, and the strong scent of her perfume made her easy to track. She then taunts the woman, asking if she uses the same perfume as her grandmother, which infuriates her opponent. She reveals that she ordered her insect to follow the scent to its strongest point. Vian says if she is not a saintess, then she does not need to protect her. The girl screams that she is not. The subordinate draws 2 daggers, while the other girl again denies being a saint. Back with the protagonist, the talisman in his hand glows with an intense, fiery power, ready to be unleashed. He unleashes the talisman's full power, summoning a massive fire dragon that roars toward his opponent. But the man simply inhales the flames, calling the attack disappointing and unimpressive. The protagonist closes his eyes, remembering the Chaos Demon's advice to use his spiritual power to feel the attack. He focuses his mind, sensing the core of the fiery energy he has just unleashed. Slowly, the core of the attack begins to change, the raging fire giving way to a freezing, icy blue aura. A massive water dragon made of pure ice erupts from the flames, twisting through the air toward the surprised man. The icy beast slams into him, its sharp crystal scales tearing through his clothes and skin. He glares in pain and fury, calling the unexpected elemental shift a truly wicked move. The protagonist puts a finger to his lips, cheekily saying he was afraid of fire and had to help out. The purple-haired girl asks if they are all right, and he explains he is fine. But Vian fainted from exhaustion. The man with the eye patch stands injured but alive, realizing his plan to capture them has failed completely. He laughs, finding the situation amusing and admitting that witnessing such a thrilling battle is a rare treat. Elsewhere, the scientist decides to stop watching and lend a hand with his own equipment. He declares that the fun part is about to begin as he presses a large red button. But nothing happens, leaving him confused and wondering why there is no reaction from the machine. He looks up and is shocked to see the protagonist's friend sitting on top of the large tube. The young man panics as he holds the hero's sister, realizing that he has just been discovered. The scientist's face contorts with rage as he calls the young man a despicable creature. He screams in fury, vowing to make the filthy rat who ruined his life's work suffer the most painful death. He then orders his small ghost, like minions, to capture the fugitives immediately. The man with the eye patch angrily asks the scientist what he is doing, his body still partially encased in ice. The scientist screams that they destroyed his life's work and orders his subordinate to end the battle and capture them immediately. The protagonist praises his friend for successfully rescuing his sister and destroying the machine, saying now they just need to escape. His opponent reveals that he was suppressing 80% of his power because he could not use spells, but now the fight is over. He floats into the air, surrounded by a swirling vortex of menacing red energy that crackles with immense power. With his eye glowing a menacing red, he scoffs at the protagonist, questioning if he truly believes he can reach S rank so easily. A flashback shows a dark tower, while a voice speaks of returning to the depths. Inside, a blood-soaked figure prays amidst candles, a voice inviting them to dance together in the lonely music. The scene is littered with bodies as the voice speaks of souls sinking into endless pain. Summoning the great demon Cerberus, the massive 3-headed demon appears before a wounded man, asking if he is the one who trespassed into its domain. A younger version of the man with the eye patch declares that he wants to trade his offering for ultimate power. The demon beast coldly informs him that he is in no position to be making demands. However, it says it is willing to make a deal and offers him a glowing red orb of immense power. Back in the present, the man with the eye patch moves at high speed. The protagonist clutches his head in pain, questioning why love and affection must always lead to murder and robbery. The empowered man declares that without overwhelming strength, order is nothing more than a joke for the weak. He questions if true order comes from his strict rules or from the chaos that is spreading throughout the world. The protagonist can only look on in shock, calling his opponent a complete madman. With a roar, the man unleashes an attack, a swirling vortex of energy. As the massive attack advances toward them, the protagonist yells for them to run. He mockingly asks if the protagonist used his last bit of strength just to cast a defensive spell. He grabs the young man by the hair, holding him up to face him. The man states that it is good he is not dead, as the protagonist lies injured and bleeding. The scientist recalls how the demon market was decimated overnight. He questions why the boy had to absorb the forbidden fruit of paradise and then sacrifice the entire town. A flashback to 15 years ago shows an assistant reporting to Garen that T.O.O. is inactive and showing no unusual signs. Young Garen observes that the specimen's body has been cut open. His assistant says there's nothing for now, but a group of children was seen in the area. Garen dismisses the idea, telling his assistant to focus on their research for the time being. Suddenly, the lab begins to shake violently, and Garen's assistant asks what is happening. A panicked soldier bursts in, reporting that TOO has suddenly gone berserk and is releasing monsters. The soldier tells them to get protective gear and evacuate to the scene immediately to assess the situation. Garen's subordinate begs him to retreat, saying there are too many monsters and that he needs to call for backup. Traces of battle and 2 pairs of footprints are discovered at the scene, leading into the nearby mountains. The scientist reveals that the boy knew the truth all along. Garen then opens a box, revealing a glowing red artifact, and holds it out to the protagonist. The young man feels a strange energy emanating from the object, a dark and ominous presence. The scientist says that it is time for the final act, as he shoves the artifact into the boy's forehead. The artifact glows with a light that engulfs his mind, flooding it with emotions. He screams in agony as the power of the artifact surges through him, his body convulsing in pain. The scientist laughs maniacally, knowing that his suspicions about the boy were correct all along. He reveals that TOO is inside the protagonist, and that this would be the greatest gift he could have received. The young man's body begins to mutate, his clothes tearing a strange bone, like appendages sprout from his back. He unleashes a powerful shockwave of blue energy, forcing everyone back with the sheer force of his transformation. The protagonist attacks with speed, his limbs striking the scientist and his subordinate. The man with the eye patch quickly moves to defend Garen, blocking the sharp bone-like attacks with his own body. He prepares another attack, a powerful technique called Bloodlust, gathering red energy in his palm. He unleashes the attack, a massive vortex of swirling red energy that he calls Nirvana. The energy spreads out in all directions, a devastating blast that rocks the entire laboratory. But as the smoke clears, he realizes he has run out of time, his empowered form fading away as blood streams from his eye. He tells Garen that the body is destroyed, but they can still track him, as the monster has left a mark. Garen agrees, telling his subordinate to clean up the mess and leave no traces behind for anyone to find. The scientist smirks, saying that he really does not want to let the young man go just yet. He then calls out to the protagonist, telling him not to die, as the red energy converges on his position. The young man is pulled into a vortex of red energy, his body stretched and contorted by the immense power. The Chaos Demon watches from a distance, wondering if the protagonist will be able to survive this ordeal. She reveals that she has found a lost piece of her consciousness. She then questions if the protagonist is truly the chosen one, a doubt lingering in her mind. He is suspended in a sea of red energy, impaled by countless sharp tendrils, and apologizes to his master. He then apologizes to his mother, knowing that he must overcome this trial to truly become the chosen one. He apologizes to Vian as the scene shifts to 15 years ago, showing a dark, windy forest at night. A 10-year-old Tetrite leads a 9-year-old Vian through the woods, and she asks him where they are. The young girl grows nervous, asking if they are lost as she sees her friend is bleeding from his mouth. He coughs weakly and stumbles, leaving small drops of blood on the ground as he struggles to keep moving. The boy suddenly spits up a large amount of blood, and his companion cries out his name in terror. He finally collapses to the ground, and she rushes to his side, begging him to wake up and not to scare her. The 2 children lie helpless at the base of a massive tree, deep within the dark and dangerous woods. The girl tells him not to worry and to rest, promising that as long as she is there, she will never leave him. He coughs again, still bleeding from his mouth, but manages to tell her that he will not abandon her either. Suddenly, a small, shadowy creature with bright white eyes emerges from the bushes. The shadow reveals its true form, a monstrous red beast with a bone-like mask and razor-sharp claws. She grabs a thick branch and stands protectively in front of her friend, shouting at the monster to stay away. With tears streaming down her face, she declares that she is there and will not let the creature harm him. The demonic beast lets out a deafening roar, its massive jaw opening wide as it prepares to attack the small child. Despite her fear, she swings the wooden branch with all her might, striking the creature directly in its face. The beast is completely unfazed and swats her aside with a single swipe of its powerful arm, sending her flying. It then turns its attention to the unconscious boy, its massive clawed foot landing right next to his head. Lying injured on the ground, the young girl weakly calls out her friend's name, unable to get up. The monster now looms over her, and she desperately pleads for him to wake up and help her. It then lunges forward, sinking its sharp teeth into her shoulder as she stares in shock and pain. As the monster bites down, her eyes flash red, and she whispers her friend's name one last time. Suddenly, the young boy rises bone, like tendrils wrapping around the beast, as he cries out in rage and pain. The creature is bound by the strange appendages, crackling with a powerful blue energy that surges through its body. He is lifted into the air, the bone-like limbs now fully formed and lashing out in all directions. He lets out a primal scream, his body racked with pain as the strange, new power consumes him completely. An explosion of blue energy erupts from his body, incinerating the surrounding trees and shaking the very ground. The young girl watches in horror, begging him to stop, afraid that he will be discovered by others. With tears in her eyes, she pleads for him to wake up, reminding him that now they only have each other. Back in the present, the purple-haired girl groans and asks for water as the others lie unconscious around her. His friend frantically asks what is wrong as he sees Vian begin to stir, surprised that she is waking up. She stands up and walks toward the rampaging protagonist, and his friend warns her not to go near him. She remembers how he has always been there to protect her, no matter what kind of trouble she found herself in. Now a powerful warrior, she moves with incredible speed, leaping between the thrashing bone-like appendages. She thinks about how he would not be in this state if it were not for her, a deep sense of guilt washing over her. She remembers him calling her useless, always crying at the slightest provocation, and a new resolve fills her. But now, she declares, it is her turn to be the one who protects him, her expression firm and determined. She lands in front of him, her powerful bladed weapon held at the ready, prepared to face him no matter what. With tears in her eyes, she promises to wake him up, ready to fight to bring him back to his senses. But, as she raises her weapon, she is suddenly impaled from behind by one of his limbs. With a final tear rolling down her cheek, she whispers his name and thanks him for everything he has done. She asks him to live on for her as well, her voice fading as her life slips away in his arms.